Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Be seated. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. First, let me thank you from the depths of my heart for your being here today. I know you're here because we love each other. And there's a tie that binds us. That tie is called the blood of Christ. When one of us hurts, we all hurt. And when all of us hurt, we hurt together. We have been viciously and maliciously misrepresented. They have attacked us at our strongest point, and that is our belief in purity, our love for children, and our compassion. They are saying that there is a network of churches with child molestation scandals that have a tie with Hyles-Anderson College and First Baptist Church of Hammond, Indiana. I do not mean to be mean. I do mean to be mad. Never a lie was spawned by Lucifer out of hell any greater than to cast reflection upon the purity and motives that are holy of our bus ministries. They said, for example, that there was a scandal on a preacher, a church in Beaumont, Texas. And that preacher has a tie with Hyles-Anderson College and First Baptist Church of Hammond. I do not even know the name of a preacher in Beaumont, Texas. I do not even know the name of a church in Beaumont, Texas. I asked the student body of Hyles-Anderson College, does anybody here know the name of a preacher in Beaumont, Texas? Not one single hand was raised. I asked the college family, student body, does anybody here know the name of a church or preacher in Beaumont, Texas? Not one single student, faculty member, or administrator or staff member raised a hand. I asked 4,000 people on a Wednesday night at First Baptist Church of Hammond, does anybody here know a preacher or a church in Beaumont, Texas? Not one single person could give the name of a church or a preacher in Beaumont, Texas. I say that to tell you the credibility of our attackers and accusers. They have not done their homework. If they did, they couldn't make these accusations. On the telecast, it was said, with a big map of America and spots of these scandalized churches and preachers who have a tie with First Baptist Church and Hyles-Anderson College, it was said that there was one in Anniston, Alabama. I do not know the name of a preacher in Anniston, Alabama. I do not know the name of a church in Anniston, Alabama. I asked the Hyles-Anderson College student body, faculty, administration, and staff, does anybody here know the name of a preacher or a church in Anniston, Alabama? Not a single person did. I asked that same question to the 4,000 people in the midweek service of First Baptist Church of Hammond, and the answer was the same as was the college. When that kind of ridiculous, malicious accusations are made, it's time that somebody got upset. And that is indicative of the veracity of most of the statements that they made and all of the accusations. This same telecast said that one of our sex satellites was in Monroe, Louisiana. The last time I was in Monroe, Louisiana was traveling through when I was a paratrooper in World War II. Or was that the Civil War? I do not know of the name of a preacher in Monroe, Louisiana, nor do I know the name of a church in Monroe, Louisiana. And yet the truth is they've had the audacity not only to say we know them, but they're tied into us. When neither I, nor my people, nor my student body, nor my staff, nor my faculty, nor my administration even knows the name of a church in Beaumont, Texas, Anniston, Alabama, Monroe, Louisiana, and the same can be said concerning this preacher for another one of our satellites in Petersburg, Virginia. But that isn't all. They showed a picture on the telecast of a man they called Hyles' protege, who has had some problem with child molestation. Then they said he is a graduate of Hyles-Anderson College.
In March, one of Hyles' deacons, A.V. Ballinger, was convicted on charges he molested a 7-year-old girl in Sunday school. A lawsuit by the girl's family charges Hyles told the parents that Deacon Ballinger just likes little girls. Another Hyles protege, Earl Reeves, the pastor of the Lighthouse Baptist Temple in San Diego, California, spent 8 years in prison for molesting young women and grade school girls in his congregation.
The truth is that very man is not a graduate of Hyles-Anderson College. He was expelled from Hyles-Anderson College. I do not choose expel students as proteges. I don't know how this thing works here. I'm not used to this. I'll just put it right here. A church in San Diego, in which I've never preached, and whose building I've never seen, was another one of these churches with a child molestation problem, who has a tie with First Baptist Church of Hammond and Hyles-Anderson College. I have never been to that church. I have never seen the building. The pastor of it, who had the trouble, I have not seen him in over 20 years. Now, you see, these are the churches and cities that are misrepresented as having a tie with Hyles-Anderson College. I say that a media that can't come in close to the truth than that can't be trusted very, very well on what else they say. Somebody approached and said, well, on what basis do you say that Hyles has a tie with the church in Anderson, Alabama? May I tell you how ridiculous it was? They said, because we know that pastor came to pastor school one time. He may have stayed in this hotel one time too. He may even take the newspapers that are represented here today. Pastor school is a giant meeting, one of the largest conventions of Baptist people in the world today. The doors are open and anybody may come in. To say that there's a sex tie because a man comes inside the door. A fellow could walk down the streets in front of the church and walk in off the streets. A prostitute could come from Calumet City and walk in off the streets and nobody would keep her from coming. Then they say, you know, after we preach around the country, we sign Bibles. If I can ever get my hands on the person that thought of that idea, I'll choke him to death. I do not know how many hundreds of thousands of Bibles that I have signed, Dr. Gibbs has signed, all of these men who speak around the country have signed in these years. But they said, we can prove that Hyles has a contact with this fellow in Anderson, Alabama, and even on television opened his Bible and said, there's Hyles' name inside his Bible.
He would call us in one by one and touch us.
He is Mark Foeller, a soul winner in the bus ministry of North Sharon Baptist Church, southwest of Ann Arbor. Fuller's been in jail since late last year on charges he molested young children who had been brought to the church aboard his bus. At a court hearing earlier this year, 10-year-old JJ told how Foeller took him and several other little boys on a church camping trip. JJ and another youngster testified Foeller led them in group masturbation sessions and later ordered them into his tent one at a time to be sodomized or perform oral sex.
He would tell me to go out of the tent and then he would call somebody else in.
9-year-old Mike testified about the pain of being sodomized by Foeller, the church bus driver.
I told him it hurt and for him to quit.
Did he?
Yeah.
When Foeller was arrested, detectives confiscated his Bible, which was autographed by controversial preacher Jack Hyles. Hyles presides over the First Baptist Church of Hammond, Indiana, a fundamentalist house of worship. With hundreds of like-minded preachers from around the country loudly applauding, Hyles and Ohio attorney David Gibbs presented awards to key figures in the North Sharon Baptist Church as Defenders of the Faith. Pastor William Wininger and Associate Pastor Timothy Leonard were congratulated by Hyles, who told them he was proud of them.
It's a jungle out there, and it is a jungle, but you've stood in the jungle and held your head high and stood tall.
Mark Fuller's wife was given a special Christian Justice Award since her husband is still in jail facing child molesting charges.
And I'm glad if my husband has to be in jail, it's for an eternal cause.
What more proof could you want? There must be some sex tie in there somewhere.